Hi, everyone. It's Christina with Landscape Management Magazine, and I'm here today to have a great discussion about early order programs or EOPs. And our host for the discussion is Beth Berry. Beth is Vice President of Sales for Advanced Turf Solutions. So thank you, Beth, for coordinating all of this and pulling it together. And I'm going to let you take it from here.
Thank you so much. And thanks to Landscape Management. I've been at Advanced Turf for 2 years, and we're a supplier on the right half of the United States. I've spent my entire career in lawn care. And we serve golf courses, we serve sports turf, and my area of expertise is turf and ornamental companies. I have mentioned to Chester and Jamie, my colleagues here, and Dan Garling, that we don't get quite the participation for lawn care owners as we do in the other industries. So I'm on a mission to find out why, because what's happening is if you don't participate, we are leaving money on the table. Gentlemen, it's the time of the year we long for in lawn care. We get to turn off the lights, right? When we see each other at events, we say, how many round ones have you been through? That's kind of how we count it in dog years in the industry here. But that is unless you have a complimentary service like salt or ice melt or maybe holiday decor. If not, you're ready to kind of wind down, right? Get into maintenance mode before we get started for the spring. But there's a couple bullet points I want to remind everyone of today. We're going to talk to our friends about early order programs. So even before you get to that, let's say, okay, I'm going to participate, Beth. I do want to order for next year. Have you prepared your 2024 agronomic program? We could spend hours talking about that, but I would encourage each of you to look at your results from this year as you look forward to 2024. Have you tracked cancels for reasons such as results? Have you tracked your service calls? Any of you that are using an industry CRM, you're surely entering service calls for weeds. Are you discreetly analyzing and asking technicians to identify out in the field precisely what type of weeds are you looking for? All of the products that we talk about in the industry, we have an abundance of active ingredients, but you want to be sure as a business owner or manager that you're selecting the right control products that you need for your lawns. So if you don't have that data as you sit down today, I'm asking you to train your technicians next year. You can use a tool on Google. Everybody that has Google in their pocket, which is all of us, there's Google Lens. So if you go to the search bar on Google, there's a little camera, and there's lots of industry tools out there. Picture this, Michigan State, but this is free. Everyone has it, and it's Google. So ask your technicians out on the lawn next year. Don't just tell the customer, I treated your weeds today. Have them identify why they're out on the lawn, exactly what weeds they're treating, exactly what products you used, so that next year when we talk about EOP, you're going to have data that would suggest exactly the type of weeds are the products we purchased labeled for that target weed. So that's my piece of advice going into next year. Now let's talk about the products, because we don't want to leave money on the table. And there are many tiers of early order. I've had the great pleasure to work with the Weed Man franchises over the year, and this is an organization that doesn't leave money on the table. My guest today is Brad DeBells. Brad, are you out there? Give us a little intro and background on you and why your organization participates in early order.
I appreciate that, Beth. As mentioned, I'm with Weedman Lawn Care, and our exact group is Epic 3, and we have a number of different offices across the country. I've been with Weedman for 10 years now, and prior to that, academia. So a unique blend for myself. And my first advice when it comes to EOPs is make sure you have a comprehensive understanding of all the different ones. Every manufacturer has one, nearly everyone, nearly every vendor has some sort of EOP. I love spreadsheets. They're all over my computer desktop, so there's a lot of information on that. You said it best. Cash flow is not fantastic in lawn care in the middle of the winter compared to what it might be in the middle of summer. So understand what you can do to support some sort of buying in the middle of winter to put things in your warehouse, because it may sit there a while. Some distributors and manufacturers allow things to be delivered later. But you're right. You're talking anywhere between 1% and 5% potentially of cash that you could be saving. And while you might not want to spend it now, you're going to really enjoy those savings at the end of your fiscal year if you're able to do it.
So Brad, one pushback I've received from some of our customers is that, well, Beth, if you have a golf course, you know exactly how much square foot you're going to treat next year. and you know what materials those are. But even if you're uncertain, certainly none of us expect to go backwards, but wouldn't you at least plan for a certain percent of those lawns to be treated and ensure that you buy those materials?
For the better part of 2 or 3 months of my life, I spend it business planning. And so we very accurately understand the exact number of square feet that we plan to treat throughout the year with every single product we use. You mentioned business plans. It's a fantastic tool. If you don't have one, create one, build one, use them. You're going to be able to almost predict exactly what's going to occur. And you might not always be exactly right. So maybe you don't want to buy your entire year's worth of product, but you can fairly safely buy half or 60% of your year's product and still take on some of those opportunities with EOPs.
You might be the most pedigreed person on this call, certainly between you and I. I know you have a degree in soil agronomy, but let's talk about the program itself as you plan for future years. I would say when I joined Advanced Turf in 2020 and 2021, as COVID was approaching, we sold you analysis that we could actually get, right? So in some cases, our customers had to modify their programs because there was only certain active ingredients we could get. And then 22 into early 23, with the volatility in pricing, many of our customers would create a program that they could afford to pass along to the customer. Is this a time to step back and maybe reset what you're going to do, or how do you approach what the agronomic program will look like for the next year?
I personally have never been one to wait very long or be very patient for a whole lot of things. So as far out as I can predict or communicate with my suppliers what I want, the better off I'm going to be. We were in a very fortunate position through the tumultuous time of COVID that we didn't run into any sort of supply issue on our end personally. And I credit that to our team being out in front of what we needed to understand. And if you do catch yourself in those spots where you're behind the eight ball with product, it's probably because you didn't prepare enough. And so you use the terms kind of step back and take a look. I hopefully at least, I'm as well prepared today as I was 2 or 3 years ago and trying to get out in front of it. And communication is key. The more you can communicate with your suppliers, with your distributors, with the manufacturers, the better off you're going to be. Maybe you can't get the product you want, but you're going to get a very close replication of that product if you need it.
That's excellent. And you were able to provide the results you needed to Weedman customers then.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Thanks so much. Rick Rittenauer. Rick is our customer from Custom Lawns. And Rick, I've known you for several years in my former life at Real Green. And your lawns are among some of the best looking lawns I've ever seen. So you talk about someone that doesn't skimp on a program. I know that you're very thoughtful as you approach the products that you're going to use. And you partnered with a private equity company this year. And one of the things they said to me is, as they were really closely scrutinizing the types of companies they would bring on board, is your customer retention rate is clearly unprecedented in the industry. And I think it speaks to the amount of time and effort you put into your program. Tell us how you approach your agronomic program and the decisions you make around early order.
Well, Beth, it was great talking to you. I rely a lot on Aaron and the other reps that I work with to tell me the new products that are coming out and how they can benefit. Like this year, for the first time, I used the Forerunner, had great results with it, and I think they doing the early order that we're able to provide a better bottom line for the P&L statement, which everybody likes to see that. And the early order, I think, helps a lot because I basically buy everything for the full year. I have it in the barn before we start our round one. So I know what my costs are, except for the few incidentals, throughout the year. So there's no surprises on the product. I don't have, I've never ran into not having the product we need. I actually built a new building 2 years ago to be able to store everything and not have that. I never want to be in a situation where I don't have what I need.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Dan Garling, are you out there? He's my colleague at Advanced Turf. I know when I joined Advanced Turf and we began to have this conversation, I said, Dan, why don't more turf and ornamental companies take advantage of it? You said to me, Beth, they want discounts, they want terms, but they also need storage. Not everyone has the space that Rick has. How do you coach your clients along the lines of early order?
I think it's a combination of all of those things, and it's a combination of exactly what Brad and Rick had just said. Number one is understanding the programs. If you understand the programs, you can explain those programs to your customers and explain those benefits to them. And that's probably first and foremost the most important thing on the distribution side, is making sure they understand the opportunities to save money that are there. That's number one. A lot of the manufacturer programs, Corteva, New Farm, since they're here with us today, they start in the fall. And the greatest time for savings is September, October. Some of them go longer than that, but it's September, October, a time when a lot of lawn care companies, especially smaller smaller operators, are extremely busy during that time. And it is more of a challenge for them if they don't have personnel working on some of those budget plans to look that far ahead, because they're so focused on just finishing up the year. So it's creating the opportunity to explain to them what opportunities are there, and in many cases, it's just explaining that they're only purchasing products that they already know they're going to buy, and getting those to fit into that time, fit into their program. Explain to them that a lot of those will have extended payment terms, that they don't have to pay for it until May, June, sometimes July of the following year. They don't have to take delivery of a lot of those in cases where we or others can store the product until spring. So if they are involved in ice melt, they don't have to take delivery of product right away, but they just have to understand what they're going to be using, when they're going to be using it, and find those areas where they can take advantage of that. Granular fertilizer, bigger, bulkier products, storage is a concern. Not everybody can build a new building. Not everybody has that space. And so it's finding those avenues where we can store product, where we can hold on to product, or where they can just find a way to make that work so that they can save that money, and then they can prepare their plan, their budget for next year, because they know what their costs are going to be. And that's probably one of the single most important factors to try to get that information relayed on, is you can't build a plan if you don't know what you're going to pay.
That's exactly right. So this is the time when most companies will have sent a prepay letter, maybe into January. So you are forecasting your revenue. You're beginning to know what your revenue is going to look like for next year. You've hopefully passed along a price increase. You are all a for-profit business, and hopefully you've passed that along. You're beginning to calculate that, but it's in the crystal ball that we have. The more you know, the more you know, and the more you can forecast. And so much of this is a gamble, right? We'd like to know it all. And I think we're getting a little bit better at reading the tea leaves with some of the volatility waning. Jamie Haydinger, thanks for being here with me today. You and I have discussed this ad nauseum. I've picked your brain and said, Jamie, how do we get the word out? How do we get more people to know? Because these terms that Dan talked about, think about that. You will have maybe collected prepay money, certainly produced the revenue and or collected it afterwards before you even have to pay for these products that you will 100% use. How do you coach turf and ornamental companies along the lines of EOP?
Well, being from the new farm and the manufacturer side, one of the things that is helpful from a manufacturer perspective is it helps us forecast what we need to manufacture. So we're willing to pay a fee for that, and that is the rewards of early order program. I've heard some really good things. Some of the pushback that I've had in the past is, I don't know what I'm going to need. And I would challenge people that they probably know at least what they need by 80%, of what they used the prior year. If they don't know that they're going to get 80% of their customers back, they probably have bigger issues. At New Farm, we try to make it easy. In fact, my little logo there is make it easy in 2024. And our New Farm Edge Rewards has a low minimum entry point. So our program isn't for the mega companies. In fact, this year, though, what we did based on feedback from channel partners like Advanced Turf and end users is we created a volume bonus on some key herbicides that are used in the lawn care business. So, lower minimum at 30 gallons ramped up what the payout was for those materials. So, to me, it makes all the sense in the world to let, use someone else's money because you're getting terms that take you into the next year. Some of the folks that participate and they get in their orders early, if they order in September, they're able to use those products in the current year. And then, of course, they can add on to the order a little bit later because the program goes through December 8th for New Farm, and they can add on to it for what they need the next year. So, to me, it makes every bit of sense for lawn care companies to participate in early order. It ensures that they know what they have and they have the materials when they're needed and ready to go, like Rick mentioned earlier.
Thank you so much. And lastly, Chester Vanderberg, are you there from Corteva? This was a blockbuster pro move, I think, by Corteva this year, offering the steel green as part of a bonus when you sign up, an opportunity to win a steel green with the early order program. I certainly haven't seen anything the size of that. Anything that this crew has missed in terms of what Corteva has approached the market with in terms of something that's interesting for early order, why your company feels like it's important?
Absolutely, Beth. So number one, we are excited about that sweepstakes. And I would say, as we try to partner with end users and lawn care professionals, especially, is don't be afraid to ask questions, right? You're gonna get a stack of all the different programs from your ATS rep. Make sure you ask questions to that rep so you can understand each program, because there could be a sweepstakes out there like the Steel Green giveaway from Corteva and ATS, right? So you could miss that if you don't ask that question, or maybe it's missed in that conversation. The other aspect I would say that Corteva tries to do well with, and along with New Farm, is we try to extend the opportunity to earn. So with Corteva Ultimate Rewards, what we do is we give you the opportunity to earn through the Q4 period, so October 1st through December 31st, but you're able to rate lock that rebate for the next year as well. So through the end of June, you can rate lock your rebate and earnings. So if you don't have the capacity, the space to bring in all of that product in the EOP timeframe, you can buy enough to qualify for that rebate and then rate lock to buy the rest of your product in that next season to continue earning rebate savings the entire year.
Rate lock. I love that. That is very exciting. And that's a new way to skin the cat. And you don't have to be huge to take advantage of it. So you're listening and you're overcoming our objections in the industry as to why we haven't fully participated. So that is amazing. Thanks for doing that.
Yes, ma'am.
So Jamie Haydinger, you said something that I hadn't really thought about, which is it allows all of you in the manufacturing business to begin forecasting more accurately. And so the discount that you all provide makes it worth it. Hadn't really thought about it that way. I will say it'd be great if you guys could bring these to market a little earlier next year, because it allows us to begin talking about it and getting the momentum up. But I wanted to be sure with our friends at Landscape Management today that collectively we got this message out. If you're purchasing equipment too, be sure to sit down with your accountant. Section 179 of IRS code would suggest that you can buy equipment now through December 31st, such as the Steel Green equipment. And that's completely tax deductible for the current year, even if you're just now purchasing it. I'm not an accountant, none of us are, but I thought it was important we get that out there to all of you. Now that we're looking at Thanksgiving and the end of the year, you want to be sure you get the best bang for your buck before we go into next year. Christina, I think that's all we've got for today. We sure appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you to everyone who spent some time out of their busy day and right before Thanksgiving to talk to us. And thank you, Beth, for coordinating everything.